If you're not extremely authentic, you are not going to do well on YouTube. You are not understanding that it is very, very tough for someone to see your content more than a few times ever.
I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm not really on there. What would you advise me do?
I would treat your YouTube channel like your business, an extension of your business.
You manage channels like Grant Cardone. How did you get into that?
Television watch time is now greater than smartphones in America. More people are watching YouTube on televisions now than smartphones.
Our youngest son is 17 and pretty sure he watches probably 90% of YouTube on TV, either in his room or downstairs.
That is the potential of YouTube.
Are there softwares or tech stacks or just any kind of tools that you love or recommend?
The biggest thing is,
are you looking for actionable insights from the world's most inspiring individuals? The Built by Love podcast is on a mission to transform your life, your business, and your health. Tune in for impactful conversations with people who do business differently. Avoid burnout, acquire freedom, and live life fully on your own terms. With me, Pete Daly-Dickson, alongside Daniel Bussius.
Jeremy, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Built by Love podcast. As you probably already know, we like to start with a dramatic opening, something that was pivotal, life-changing for you. Was there a challenge or a moment in your life that helped you shape who you are today or the path you took professionally or personally?
yeah, wow, that's a big one. When I was 17, my dad went to prison for life. And I really had to grow up pretty quickly. And a few years later found marketing, and that kind of really brought me to being mature even as a teenager, and being creative brought me to marketing, and marketing brought me to what I do now.
Wow, that's intense. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, how did that impact you as a kid growing up?
It was, looking back, it was amazing, right? Because me and my family were pretty strong now. But it was obviously devastating. But, resilience is part of life. And I do not believe that I would be half as successful as I am if these things didn't happen.
It's interesting that the line of work that you chose to go in is really giving knowledge and wisdom to others and helping others. I mean, there's a lot of different professions you obviously the route you could have gone, but you decided to shape your own path and give back to others through your knowledge, wisdom, training to help them succeed. So it's very interesting how you took obviously a challenge, a tragedy in life, and turned it into a gift for others. So thank you for that. I'm sure the people that are getting your knowledge are appreciative of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I definitely will say that I lean towards helping others in general in life. And I think just seeing so many things, that's not the only tragedy I've dealt with in my life. Just makes me more grateful and thankful and want to help others.
Amazing. For those who don't know your background, how did you become one of the go-to experts on YouTube? I mean, you manage channels like Grant Cardone. I mean, you can tell us more, but how did you get into that?
Sure. So I started in digital marketing. I've never done traditional marketing in 2000. So this is my 25th year of being a digital marketer. One of the first, I've always had a big desire to be successful. So in 2004, 4 years into digital marketing, I wrote my first textbook exploring web design. and it did quite well. So then I was able to move to Dallas, Texas, to be a director of marketing, art director, and many other titles. And in that time that I was art director, director of marketing, for about 10 years, I realized that video was going to help people learn how to be successful with digital marketing. Another thing I realized is in 2000, I was teaching all my instructors. Back then, like no one really knew much. I mean, that's kind of the beginning. I think we got normal internet in 1995, so long time ago. And I was working as an art director, and I realized, okay, YouTube and video is actually going to be pretty big. And I was at the time teaching digital marketers how to do better. So partnered actually with Adobe, and I helped them create Adobe Television, which ended up getting about 10 million viewers a month for like 15 years before they shut it down. And learned that basically, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, being an art director alone wasn't enough for me to help people. So emotions and all kinds of nonverbal cues happen better in video than an ad or a picture that I could create. So I started helping more people through a company that I owned, and we partnered with companies like CorelDRAW and Adobe, and we created a lot of training in this space. So that's really how I went from digital marketing to video specific. And then YouTube obviously was and still is the largest platform in the world. So that's where my focus has been.
It's a really great example of had a guest on another one of my podcasts talked about putting information in front of the sale. So what I hear you saying, Jeremy, is that your success in life has come from providing value, giving information, teaching, and that has led you to relationships and connections, which have then you've been able to build on.
Absolutely. And, I've probably spoke over 100, 150 times throughout the world. And those relationships, I'm still monetizing those relationships. I haven't spoke very much in the last, since COVID. And I'm still, 6+ figures a year or more just from past speaking relationships.
Wow.
It's interesting. I try to talk to clients. Obviously we own a digital marketing agency, and I try to say to clients, you have to develop a relationship. These are human beings, right? So when you're looking at email lists and databases and metrics, it's just numbers, right? We kind of forget there's actually human beings behind that. And most clients, most customers, all they care about is, I just want sales. I just want more leads. I want more conversions. I want more sales, more opt-ins. And they get lured by a lot of stuff out there online that thinks it's going to be overnight success. And then they wonder why every month they're struggling. Every month is a month of scarcity rather than surplus. And I say to them, which isn't sexy, and you're kind of backing that up, is these are human beings. You have to develop a relationship. And the relationship's going to be based off the foundation of A, they have to trust you, so there has to be authority there. B, you have to actually give real value so that you show that you're an expert, that you have the authority. And C, you have to develop that value exchange. If they're giving you their time, right, whether it's an email, whether it's watching a video or anything, you actually have to give an equal or greater amount of value back to them. And then eventually they're going to want to buy from you. So just running ads and doing all of these things in sales, thinking that you're going to keep a customer, they're going to absolutely love you. It's all based off of emotion. And so you're really backing that up, is that, hey, in person, when I'm speaking and they're actually see me and there's a connection and there's all of the things that you know you can't get elsewhere except for in a room, and then you're transcending that into YouTube as well. So thank you for that. That's a hard sell, especially as a marketing agency, saying to people, this is not going to be an overnight success. This is going to take some time, just like anything.
The funniest example of that, in my opinion, is B2B businesses always are like, oh, we can't do that on YouTube because we're B2B. And I remind a lot of people on LinkedIn video and YouTube video is there's a human behind each part of that B, you know,
Hmm.
and they don't want to be bored with corporate lingo and BS. They want to actually interact with another human. What I love about YouTube is I call it like the punk rock version of social media. And the reason is if you're not extremely authentic, you are not going to do well on YouTube. You actually have to be a human. You know, you have to and niching down and focusing on specifically, like you mentioned, like what your expertise is very important. So um, I've helped many B2B brands become human and 10x their revenue. And it's so weird to me, like digital natives, people I would say under 30, 35 years old, just get this. But for some reason, a lot of us older marketers, I'm not going to say 35 is old by any means, but I just feel like we are kind of out of touch in a lot of ways. Um, about relationship building and true value. A lot of small businesses, the biggest mistake small businesses make to this day on YouTube is they just kind of put up ads or, stuff like a repository, like a library of books, and they don't have a viewer first mentality where an ad or a blog post or a video is about the viewer, has nothing to do with them.
That's really interesting. Okay. You've mentioned to me offline, and I don't know what you can state publicly or not, but you've mentioned that you work with some of the largest brands and some of the largest influencers in the world. Are there a couple that you're allowed to mention to us?
Sure. In the past, I've worked with 23 of the top 100 brands in America, from Procter and Gamble to a lot of these bigger companies. Um, I work with a lot of and still work with a lot of pretty influential creators. The my favorite types of people to work with, believe it or not, are blue collar creators. So I helped create the largest plumbing YouTuber in the world, and drywall, and many, and weed control, the biggest weed control YouTube channel in the world. And these are my favorite. If you're asking like who my favorite is, my favorite are blue collar workers that are kind of struggling with their business and now are making seven figures doing
Wow.
um, being influencers on social media.
Why is that?
I'm wondering
I
that too.
Yeah, why? So there's a lot of reasons. Next week I am driving 2,000 miles on a 3-week adventure, and one of the stops on that adventure is I'm going to the largest punk rock concert in America. um, and I'll have to say, even though I'm going to be 49 years old next month, I still kind of have that kind of, I don't know, defiance. And I have a very, very low tolerance for BS. I feel personally that most blue collar people I work with have no ego, and their worth ethic is through the roof compared to a lot of the companies I work with are just ego driven, and that's fine. I'm not judging them, but I love just to work with people who are like, okay, you're the expert, I'm not. What do I do? What's the plan? Let's go. that makes me really happy. It also makes me really happy, like the underdogs, right? Going back to like the whole punk rock mentality. And I still skateboard every day, even though I'm old.
Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but continue to be held back by marketing that fails to bring in new customers? It's time to stop settling for lackluster results, wasting your time and money, and focus on a proven formula for business growth. At Built by Love, we're more than a marketing agency. We're your growth partner. As a multiple-time award-winning agency, we specialize in creating marketing strategies that aren't just effective, they're transformative. Here's what we do. 1. Grow your revenue. Our proven systems drive meaningful, measurable results. 2. Elevate your brand. Our strategies will help you stand out and connect with your audience on a deeper level. 3. We save you time and money. Our award-winning team will handle your advertising and marketing with precision and expertise so you can focus on what you do best. Don't just take our word for it. Experience the difference for yourself. Book your free consultation today at builtbylove.com.
The underdogs are just my favorite. You know, a local plumber that was about to go out of business now doing multiple 7 figures a year on YouTube. Those stories are just cool. And I think that that is the potential of YouTube. The average person can actually become a minor celebrity and have a lot of income potential.
I love that. I'm going to hit you with a couple questions in a row, but first, so like you said drywall or a plumber. Now, if you don't own a home and you're not like a DIYer, right? Of like, okay, I'm going to renovate my basement and I'm going to put up some drywall and I need to figure out how to do it. For our listener, how would a guy that's doing drywall or plumbing, say in Nashville, Tennessee, how's he going to get a global following and how's he going to make money from that? I know those are kind of like a string of questions, but how might that work for that plumber or that drywall guy or gal?
The beautiful thing about YouTube is finding your tribe. You know, we used to have a joke when I was a kid that you are going to go to school to become an underwater basket weaver. And that was like just this basically concept of you're going to get a crappy degree that's not going to actually help you get a job. That was like the joke. And now you probably could find underwater basket weavers on YouTube with a tribe of people that love them. So first, everyone underestimates, for example, in Birmingham, Alabama, there is one of my students named Jason Creel, and he is doing quite well for himself. And he's just teaching small, independent lawn care companies how to use weed control to make a living, how to do a good job. And he has kind of become a minor celebrity. I went and I spoke at one of his conferences, and you would not believe how many people were shaking his hand and getting his autograph. These people that are niche celebrities are actual celebrities to the fans, like actual celebrities. So first off, you have to understand your value. You would not believe how many channels I've worked with over millions and millions of subscribers that suck at making money. If you think about like making money with millions of eyeballs should be pretty easy. The problem is if you don't have a defined niche and you don't really know who your audience is and what your value to your audience is, then you're probably going to kind of flounder a little bit and not do well. For someone like Jason in Birmingham, Alabama, that teaches weed control, he has courses, he has books, he has podcasts, he has sponsorship opportunities, he has an annual conference. It's very easy when you know exactly what your value is to your viewers. It's very easy to make a real business around that. That's one thing I do not let my students say is I'm a YouTuber or a TikToker. I don't let them. I correct them. I'm like, no, you're a business that happens to have one of their main streams of, audience and growth and viewership through social media platforms. So going back to your concept of like a drywaller, well, if he owns a drywall company, he can definitely even locally, make sure he's always ranking and showing up for Drywall Nashville. If he if a lot of drywallers watch him, he could make courses and teach people exactly how to do drywall on 2025. He can work with probably 50,000 plus home companies that manufacture home supplies. So, for example, one of my students, Roger Wakefield, Cottonelle paid him 6 figures to make one video about toilet paper, and he's a plumber. So, there's just this like bleeding into all these different things. Just think about how many, like Home Depot and all of these other companies they sell drywall. So there's just so many more opportunities than I think people realize.
That's
but
amazing.
Ads are not one of those opportunities. Yes, I have customers making 50,000 plus a month on AdSense and ads. But if any of my customers are making more than 20% of their total income off of ads, I help them diversify their income sources so they don't go out of business.
Yeah, so it doesn't come crashing
So cool.
down. I love that.
It seems there that what you're working with your clients with in terms of teaching them about, you're not a YouTuber and thinking about value is kind of advice to all business owners. It's not just about being on YouTube. You got to think about the value that you provide, the problem that you solve.
Absolutely. And I start everyone off with a niche audit. And on the niche audit, we have things like, what's your vision for your YouTube channel? What's your goals? What's, your messaging? What's your 3 to 5 year plan? Like basically I'm creating a YouTube business plan, and I force them to think about their business, not just YouTube.
That's incredible. Can I, for a second, just out of selfish curiosity here, because I'm a former skateboarder, punk rocker, still listen to some punk rock, and so you love this stuff, and you're going to obviously the largest punk rock concert. So if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, what would you say like are your top 3? It doesn't have to be in order, but like your top 3. And if you got 5, go for it. Punk rock bands of all time.
Wow, of all time. Okay, my number 1 is probably Fugazi, which is just
okay.
an old 1980s punk rock band. My current favorite punk rock band is called The Interrupters. It's kind of like a modern ska, and I'd have to say, probably I'm not even. There's just a lot, but I wouldn't say they're punk rock, but I got to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Maybe they are punk rock. I got to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers last year, and they're probably in my top 3.
I'd say they were like for if you're 80s punk rock, the Red Hot Chili Peppers stepped in like into the 90s, and they kind of like took the baton, so to speak, for like that era of punk rock. Yeah.
Definitely.
I would. I'm surprised you didn't mention. I'm more old school, not as modern. Sex Pistols are in there. Misfits. I know you mentioned Fugazi. I would have said maybe Minor Threat, but who cares
Definitely.
about mine? I could go on for days, but
and I'm going to be seeing Social Distortion next week or the week after, which I've never seen. It's one of the Sex Pistols style old school bands.
Yeah. And Coachella just happened at the time of this recording not too long ago. And the Misfits were on there. And they, for anyone that knows, Glenn Danzig was in a huge fight with the Misfits for years. And they thought they would never perform together. And I'm 50 years old. I'm not going to Coachella. Like I've been to Coachella when I was younger. But it would have been cool. It would have been cool to see them come together. I don't know if that's going to happen again. especially for the money they probably got paid, right? But that would have been a cool experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned TikTok, and then obviously YouTube is your focus. What I've been preaching to clients and what I learned, and then I believe, and maybe I'm wrong here, so I'll stand corrected. I've always said to small business clients, you need to figure out your primary channel that you're going to focus on. You can't be everywhere. So stop trying to be on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Just figure out your channel and just be great at that channel and leave everything else to the side. Unless you're Nike and you have 50 full-time people focusing on content, then you need to just focus on one channel. And I noticed you mentioned TikTok and YouTube. So is it more of a blended approach now? I mean, what do you recommend?
For the small business, I would just adjust your strategy a little bit. And the adjustment would be find your tribe, find your people, find your audience first and see where they live. So for example, my brother is a ethical hacker, pretty famous in that world, and his tribe lives on X, formerly Twitter. That's where they live. It's that like the whole industry, that is where they live. So for my brother, he spends all of his social media time on X. He doesn't bother with anything else because his tribe doesn't live really anywhere else. Of course, they're on all the other platforms, but not even close comparatively. And he does have one of the best-selling books on Amazon for one of the things he does. And a lot of that came from his following on X. So find your tribe first, understand what they do, what their needs are, and where they go, and that should really help you. If you are B2B or you're helping businesses, I would probably focus the most on LinkedIn video.
Okay. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm running out of things to say. I can't keep talking about the same thing. Would you disagree?
So I'm going to just say it's pretty egotistical of us as humans to think that someone's going to ever see what they do more than once or twice. And one thing I've learned doing this for 17 years on YouTube is once YouTube kind of green lights you for a specific topic, let's say it's like how to skateboard or how to ollie, you better go make another 50 or 100 videos on how to skateboard or how to ollie, over the next 10 years, or you won't be the biggest, most ranked, channel for that term. It's really like Scooby-Doo. You really just need to keep putting out content. I would recommend you do different flavors of it. You have different values and, you find different end results. But ultimately, you are not used personally, but if you're going at this like, oh, I don't want to repeat myself, you are not understanding that it is very, very tough for someone to see your content more than a few times ever.
Gotcha. There's a lot of talk.
In other words, there's far fewer people paying attention to you than you think there are.
Exactly. And if you have
Nobody
a big
cares.
fan base, maybe this doesn't apply. If you have 100,000 people, maybe 10 or 20 or 40,000 of them might actually see your next video. So you have to be more specific. But when you're starting out, it's really important on all those platforms for the algorithms to understand your topic. It's not about keywords, it's about topics. So if you're a plumber or a skateboarder, you need to put plumber or skateboarder in your descriptions or titles. And the algorithms, basically, the way they work at this point is user history. So I'm not going to, if I'm TikTok, I'm not going to show a boat video to someone that doesn't like boats.
Okay. It's starting to make sense. My 6-year-old son has hijacked my my YouTube account. I have two. I have a business one, but I have a personal one. And now on my YouTube account, the only thing that shows up pretty much is Lego videos of all these
Yep.
different people making Legos, dropping Legos, whatever. And that makes sense because the things that I would want to see, I'm no longer seeing in my my feed, so to speak.
You're an entrepreneur and you're busy, but we know that every business owner needs a podcast without the hassle of learning about production. Well, we figured it out for you. Activate Your Podcast is a service that offers everything you need to make a podcast that creates meaningful relationships with your clients at scale. The experts at AYP will work directly with you to produce 5 pillar episodes from a 2-hour conversation that captures the trust and love you are bringing to your ideal client. And the assets are all yours to create your own amazing marketing campaign. For the benefits of a podcast without the hard work, head to activateyourpodcast.com and let's create something great together. Now, back to the episode.
Absolutely.
There's a myth out there, or maybe it's still fact, where people are talking about you have to post. I remember on standard social media outside of YouTube, they'd say you have to post twice a day. You have to post different times, and on these days you're going to get more exposure. And if you don't do that, you're not going to grow, and blah blah blah. Is that the same on YouTube, or is it a different animal?
So it definitely has been changing for the last 5 years. One of the people I helped many years ago, his name's Evan Carmichael. He has about 3 million subscribers on YouTube. And about 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was posting like 3 to 10 videos a day. And since then, he's actually went and deleted like 99% of the videos he's posted. And his channel is starting to grow again. So it is all about quality, not quantity. And the easiest way to explain the YouTube algorithm in 2025 is click, watch, like. So you need people to click on your thumbnails and titles and the previews. You need people to watch your videos, and that is scripting and editing and filming, hooks, storytelling. And then you need people to engage with your videos, which is likes, comments, and shares. So click, watch, like, and I would add niche in there too. Niche, click, watch, like is really all the algorithm needs. So you need to show up for the thing you focus on, like let's say it's skateboarding. And then you need to have better thumbnails, more clickable thumbnails and titles than your competitors. Your videos should be watched longer, the average view duration and the time of watch, than your competitors. And you should get more engagement, likes, comments, and shares than your competitors if you want to be the best in the world at what you do. That's pretty much the entire algorithm. People can, get a lot more sophisticated than that, but ultimately that is how my students have over 50 billion organic views on YouTube.
Does YouTube have the problem of like Instagram with fake accounts?
Yeah, and with AI, my real focus right now is to try to help humanize all of my customers. What's going to stand out? Let's say you make decent content. By the way, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, decent is not good enough. Anyone can make decent content with a $1,000 phone, Decent is not good enough because what you should be focusing on is the need. So if you're addressing someone's need, whether that's entertainment or education or somewhere in between, helping someone or entertaining them is much, much more important. So I feel like a lot of businesses not focusing on their viewers and customers and avatars. This is very old school thinking. And I feel like these digital natives, I personally think people under 35, because when if a 35-year-old, iPhones have been around about 20 years now, I believe, right? Close to. So they may have had an iPhone in their hand when they were, a kid. And in my opinion, they just kind of understand that it's all about the customer, it's all about the viewers. And for some reason, a lot of marketers are still making content as if they're checking off a box if that's the thing they have to do this week. If you're not making quality content, don't make it. Just don't even waste anyone's time. And quality does not mean good cameras. It does not mean good lighting. It does mean no shaky cameras. It does mean good audio. But it really means you're giving a video to someone that they actually will watch and they will enjoy it.
It's going to add value to them.
Exactly. Going back to the original conversation of like, this is all about building, rapport and trust and a friendship.
What question am I not asking about that? I feel like I'm getting a master class in YouTube right now. So, because as you're talking, hey, it doesn't necessarily have to be the best cameras. It doesn't have to be like a Steven Spielberg production. Obviously, don't have the camera shaky. But what do I not know that I should be asking you that our listeners should be knowing about if they're going to venture into YouTube?
Great question, Daniel.
Yeah, give me a example of one of your customers, what they do, and
Okay.
we'll just kind of walk through it real quick.
I've got a perfect example of it's a nonprofit, and they do summer camps for kids with learning disabilities and teenagers with ADHD. And I won't mention their name. And they have a good sized YouTube channel, a lot of videos, and it just sits there. There's really nothing that's happening. And they'll put up some videos, like they'll put up like 10 or 12 a year or whatever. But there's really nothing coming from it.
That's an easy one for me. So the first thing I would do is I would research and figure out exactly what the top 100 most viewed videos in the world for kids with ADHD or ADHD kids videos. And then I would recreate them. Now, before I recreate them, I would do it in my own vein, right? What we're thinking about is what are the top 100 most viewed videos of all time for kids and ADHD, and how can we add value to this type of video? So what you're doing instead of guessing is you're going to go recreate the top performing videos in the world. This is probably the biggest thing people don't realize is everyone has this kind of fundamental philosophy or ego of I'm going to go create something no one else has created. And there's a lot of problems with that. One of the problems is the algorithm doesn't necessarily know how to handle that video because it doesn't have history of, okay, this is a new ADHD thing. Is this video actually, could it compete with the word ADHD, which, gets kind of way more complicated. So if you are, I basically, what I do with my customers is I help them mimic for the first year, and then we actually innovate. We go from mimicking to innovation in a year, and thought leaders and actual like pushing these things, to the next level. And Grant Cardone is doing TV shows and all kinds of cool stuff now, and it's because we started in how to, and now he's going way beyond that. Another thing that a lot of people are missing fundamentally is how to videos are kind of played out in general. And there's a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason, I was just reading this article, I think somehow Apple was involved. I don't know if you saw this today, but basically I believe Apple noted that Google search results are slipping for the first time in 22 years. Why is that? AI can replace all of these questions. I even will argue, even though I have courses, that courses are going to kind of go away in a lot of regards. I did a study with Apple or Adobe a long time ago when we realized that about 80+% of people that buy a course never open it ever.
Yeah.
That's a lot, right? So instead of courses, you really need answers, right? You really need to know how you do the thing. So I think AI is replacing a lot of these how to videos with just the exact answer you need at the moment in time that you need it. And I believe Google is going to struggle because of this, unless they keep improving, which obviously they are, their AI. And I feel like, okay, so most businesses default to how-to videos. How-to videos are the thing that's going to help me grow my channel. Well, what if your customers don't need your how-to advice? Then what? What's very, very interesting that's happening, and I would say this is the biggest change that's happened in the 17 years I've been a YouTube strategist, is YouTube a few months ago came out and said that television watch time is now greater than smartphones in America. So more people are watching YouTube on televisions now than smartphones. Now that's by watch time, which is the most important metric on YouTube. So the thing that's missing is storytelling, intrigue, curiosity gaps, and a reason to watch. So in that first 2 seconds, you need to set something up that is intriguing people to watch the whole time. YouTube podcasts are now bigger than all the other platforms. So YouTube Music is now bigger than all other music platforms. And YouTube television basically is coming with episodic Netflix style playlists. And I guarantee you, and they've already claimed, by the way, that YouTube streaming on televisions is bigger than Netflix, which no one really knew that until recently. So I think the evolution of what's happening with brands and YouTube is basically everyone just thought we were how to, but we're actually probably more about come along with me in my journey as a plumber or a skateboarder. And, let's talk to the experts. Let's figure things out together. Let's be entertained together. So every Disney movie is a storytelling format called the hero's journey. Mm-hmm. And if you're not really just giving someone something emotional and nonverbal, then you're really just going to miss out on the ability to have people watch your videos for a long time. And cranking out hundreds of videos is not going to help you. What's going to help you is have the most clickable, the most watchable, and the most likable videos in your space.
Gotcha. That's interesting what you said about watching on TV. Our youngest son is 17, and I'm pretty sure he watches probably 90% of YouTube on TV, either in his room or downstairs.
It's a big change. Even with Grant Cardone last in 2022, I think he had about 10 or 15% of his views were coming from televisions, and in 2024 is 33%, and 2025 is looking to be about 50%.
Wow.
Without giving away any secret sauce to the things that you do with yourself, your clients, and your courses, are there softwares or tech stacks or just any kind of tools that you love or recommend?
Yeah, so I've been for the last 2 years developing AI tools, and we're releasing them soon. I've also been a part of vidIQ and helped TubeBuddy in the past and some other really great companies out there. Ultimately, my recommendation would be to just get really good at prompts. It doesn't matter the AI platform, but I have definitely created some AI prompts that are better than me. For example, I have a thumbnail grader and a title grader and a script grader and a description grader, and they are actually better than me. And the reason they're better than me is I programmed them with all of my 17 years of knowledge, and then they're a computer. So the rules, like the 12 rules for thumbnails, 12 rules for title, are all things I did with,
Hey there, entrepreneurs and business owners. Are you feeling stuck with marketing strategies that just aren't delivering? Struggling to attract the right customers or boost your sales? Imagine turning those challenges into triumphs with a proven roadmap tailored just for you. Introducing Marketing Built by Love, the game-changing book by award-winning expert Daniel Bussius. Marketing Built by Love is designed to tackle your biggest business pains head-on, whether you're battling low visibility, weak customer loyalty, or stagnant growth. This book provides actionable solutions that drive real results. Here's how it can transform your business. Boost your revenue. Implement strategies that convert leads into loyal customers. Strengthen customer relationships. Create meaningful connections that keep your clients coming back. Streamline your marketing efforts. Save time and money with effective, easy-to-follow systems. Don't let marketing woes hold you back any longer. Take control and watch your business thrive. Grab your copy of Marketing Built by Love today in stores at Barnes & Noble, or order online at Amazon or wherever you buy quality books. Transform your marketing. Solve your business problems. Achieve the success you deserve with Marketing Built by Love. Available now.
We researched over 50,000 channels, and we had a lot of data points, and then the prompts are taking it to those next levels. So I believe we are definitely coming out with some pretty simplistic but powerful tools. vidIQ and TubeBuddy are pretty good right now, but ultimately it's about prompting and asking the right questions.
I want those tools.
No problem.
Can I be on a early adopter waiting list, please?
Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I want access to the beta version as well, right?
No problem.
Jeremy, you and I were having a casual conversation offline, and if I could bring up part of it, because it was really interesting. And you already kind of alluded to it a little bit, where you were saying, hey, how-to videos are going away in your professional opinion. And you mentioned, and this is where we're getting into, like, where do you see the future of YouTube? And I don't want to steal your thunder, but you said how you see the future of YouTube evolving is not how-to videos. It's turning into a different format. Can you talk to us about that? Because that was really interesting.
Sure. So I believe a lot of it's already happening, and that's why I was saying, like, podcast, the biggest podcast platform in the world is YouTube. The biggest streaming television platform, at least in the United States, is YouTube, not Netflix. So first and foremost, we need to stop thinking that YouTube is just about videos. They also have posts and other things. It's a platform, but I feel like we're going from a kind of I'm going to ask YouTube a question phase to I'm going to be entertained by a brand or a YouTuber. And the easiest way to explain this is Red Bull. Red Bull has always made really insanely phenomenal, beautiful videos of surfers and skateboarders, and really, Red Bull. A lot of people I know that have worked there basically have said we're a production company that happens to sell a drink. Like they're basically a video production team that happens to sell a drink, and you can't really have Red Bull without all the extreme sports and all the movies and all the viral videos they have on a weekly basis. They are an entertainment sports drink, essentially, or, whatever kind of drink you want to call it. And I believe brands have been doing a good job kind of masking what they're doing or mimicking what they're doing. But ultimately, I do not believe everyone has to be education. I do not believe everyone has to be entertainment. I do think, though, we have to capture the hearts and minds of the struggles that your audience is going through. So I do think like the easiest way to do this is podcasts. I think there's going to be too many podcasts. So one thing I'm working with a lot of my students on right now is basically making TV shows, documentaries. So let's say I was going to help a company that makes printers, sell printers. I would probably start with the history of printers and do like an hour-long video on the history of printers. And what you're doing is you're establishing yourself. You're probably going to get a lot of watch time. There's probably going to be people curious about that. And then if you do it correctly, and then you're establishing yourself in Google and YouTube search results as an authority on printers. So I absolutely believe eventually you're going to ask a question and a video is going to assemble in real time based on your needs and your language. If you say rad and dude, the video is going to assemble in your space and it's going to add your context and maybe even like show your type of screen if you're on a Mac or PC or what have you. But I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, videos and movies are going to assemble to you individually.
That's just blown my mind.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But like, let's look at the evidence of why I believe that. You know, it's very strong. And why would we have these supercomputers and robots if we couldn't do these things? I'm sure you've seen like Sora and some of these other video models. I do not believe 20 years from now we will have stunt guys. I do not believe we will have studios in LA at all. And you know, maybe it's 5 years. Tyler Perry out of Atlanta announced last year that he was building $1 billion studio and he canceled after he saw what Sora was doing. He's just like, yeah, this is not the future. Physical studios is, I think the concept 5 years from now of someone like jumping out of an airplane for a movie clip is going to almost seem barbaric.
It's interesting when you there's a couple of people I follow on Instagram and that talk about the movie industry. I lived in Los Angeles for over a decade, so I know a lot of people that are in the industry. So it's interesting. And Los Angeles is slowly being decimated, right? There's a number of reasons why, but one of the things that I think is interesting that's relevant to our conversation is a lot of new contracts that are going out to the younger actors and actresses, right? Is that they own all of your likenesses rights right from the get-go. And so if you want to sign a movie deal and it's your first movie deal and this is your big break, it's not just we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, you're going to be on set for 3 months, 6 months or whatever. It's that we own your likeness forever in perpetuity, which means that, okay, well, we're going to film you and we're going to pay you a little bit of money now. And then after that, we can forever just use you and put you into movies and you can be the star or the co-host or whatever. And we don't need to actually talk to you ever again. That's crazy. And that what I read, and what do I know, right? But what I read is one of the reasons why these music catalogs are selling for billions of dollars is not just the streaming royalties. Like, why would you buy X, Y, or Z band's entire, collection? It's that these labels know with AI that they can actually produce new albums now. They have everything they need, including all of the raw recordings in the background to actually create entirely new albums. And they don't need the band members to ever be alive. They can actually do virtual concerts in the future where it's going to be the same kind of experience and visual and all new music from people like Elvis or whomever. So,
and humans won't watch it and humans won't listen to it because it it won't be human. It will lack humanity. It will lack soul. It's not
until the robots do a better job with us and humanity, which sounds crazy, but it's coming and it's weird. One thing I do like about people like us is we're a little, I'm going to be 49 next month, and we are, thinking and processing and accepting our fates in the future. I feel like a lot of marketers, I remember in like early 2000s, I was at a Photoshop conference and all the speakers were basically just saying how digital cameras were dumb and they're never going to work and they're always going to be crappy. Could you imagine having a conversation that a digital camera is worse than a film camera? That is like breaks my brain to even think that people used to think film cameras were better than digital cameras. And it's mindset, right? The marketers that are embracing and learning are going to be okay. Marketers that are rejecting the future of AI will probably not be in marketing.
Yeah.
I guess I have a slightly different. I guess I have a slightly different lens on it because I'm not coming from the marketing perspective. I'm coming from the fact that I am an actor, and so when you talk about robots and AI taking over, the world that I inhabit and attempting to tell original stories, I'm struggling to get my head around how AI is. I mean, and AI would never be able to tell the stories that are in me because it's not had my lived experience. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's never going to have that.
I don't like a lot of this that's happening. I mean, I'm very artistic, and I love humanity. I don't like a lot of it. I do think it's going to happen though. I hope not, and I hope we can preserve. I hope there's like a 20% rule or something that emerges where we can preserve the arts, human arts. I think it's going to have to be that way for our survival long term.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with a lot of this. I am accepting that these things are happening so fast that I don't even know if we could put a lid on it at this point, even if we wanted to.
I'm going to kind of go total left field for a moment. So I hope I'm not going way, way, way off topic here. I kind of am a little bit, but this was like last weekend. I forgot why. There was some reason why. And it's kind of an interesting point of, I don't even remember, but my family and I decided we were going to go to the mall. I can't tell you the last time I've actually went to a physical shopping mall, but we went there. And the interesting thing as you're walking through the mall is it's as someone who's like 50, years old, where I remember when I was a teenager, the mall was like the place to go. That was the social thing, and you're walking through and all the anchor stores are shut down. All of the small stores, like the stores that like I'm about to age myself, like the KB Toys of the world, or like the video game store, like these like smaller businesses, right? What I recognized, I was bringing it to my wife. I was like, "Do you notice what's going on?" She was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "There's no small stores. Like all the big anchor stores, they're all shut down, and then all of like the small stores, like the smaller businesses." They don't exist either. What has filled all the spaces is high ticket. There were 6 car companies that took retail space. There was Hermes and Louis Vuitton and blah, blah, blah. Like basically all super high ticket. And I was like, what's interesting is that I don't know. I'm not a shopping mall expert. Is that brands that had massive markups could afford the rent. Like, I don't know how many purses you need to sell at Louis Vuitton to pay your rent, but probably just a few, right? They could get by. But a video game store or like the local puzzle and game store, how many puzzles and games are they going to have to sell to keep the lights on, not only for the business owner or the company to earn a profit, So that was interesting because the dynamic of the mall changed. But as we're walking through, it was pretty vacant. I mean, there were people moving around, but not like what it used to be, until there was this area of a fountain and a playground. It was packed. It was packed with kids and families and people like mingling and things like that. So what does this shopping mall, where am I going with this? Well, again, I'm not an expert here of shopping malls, nor can I say I predict the future. But the one thing I think that people still yearn for is connection and experiences in the real life, in the flesh, right? So yes, there was a playground there. So the parents were there and the kids were playing, but also it was kind of nice. There was just a bunch of people watching, just that collective tribal mentality. So I do think in the future, as AI is going to realistically decimate just about every business out there, any service business, whether it's an accountant or taxes or whatever, your business is gone. Marketing agencies in the next 5 years probably gone out of business, except for the few that are generating some very unique thing that no one else can do because it's complex or it's niched that AI hasn't or can't figure out quite yet. But if you're generating real human experiences, I think people are going to crave that more and more. And so I guess my light at the end of the tunnel and my hope is that actors like Peter and experts like Jeremy on YouTube and even businesses like mine that are marketing, helping entrepreneurs, that we have a way to actually really, truly connect with humans. And that's why humans are going to choose us over AI. What do I know?
Absolutely agree with you. And like the art of humanity, I think is what all of us should be studying and building our tribes now, while we still can. I do believe that we'll be okay. I do believe that, everything will be figured out. One thing that I keep on going in my head is like before the Industrial Revolution, we were doing this stuff by hand. Before
Yeah.
calculators came out, people were trying to do math, on paper. It's not very scary yet. I do believe 10 or 20 years from now, we will have tripled what we accomplished in the last 200 years as a human species in 10 years. And, I believe that disease and healthcare and a lot of things will really be elevated quickly. I don't believe that we really understand the gut or brain yet. I believe that a lot of amazing things will happen, but I think it'd be a good time for me to retire in the next 3 to 5 years.
I hear you.
Jeremy, Daniel asked a selfish question earlier on behalf of the listener, and I've got a selfish question too, which I hope your not necessarily your answer to me, but and the questions that you ask me to help you get to the answers will also be instructive for the listener. And it kind of touches, I think, on what you said there about now would be a good time to find your tribe. Daniel doesn't know this. I was going to talk to him about before we hit record, but I got carried away and I was the last one to the table today. But I'm both starting a new project, but really evolving a current project. So I've had a podcast for the last 10 months called Not a Straight Line, where I've been talking to entrepreneurs and artists about their non-straight line journey through life. And what's happened over the last week is that the beam of that focus has narrowed, and I'm now just talking to, I guess, really the version of me a year ago who was driving full time for a living and is now pretty close to living my dream artistic life. I've just been submitted for a role in season 3 of The 3-Body Problem in Netflix, and I'm getting commercial auditions and stuff.
Amazing.
And the Not a Straight Line podcast is evolving into the Wealthy Artist podcast. So it's similar kind of conversations, but specifically with artists who are somewhere on that journey spectrum from doing something for money that's not feeding their soul to living their dream artistic life. It would be remiss of me not to have an expert like you on the in conversation, and not ask you what you would do with something like that. So that what I can do, so the listener can figure out. Well, I've got something that could actually, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm not really on there. What would you advise me do with the wealthy artist?
So, what I would do moving forward, especially anything to do with the arts, is I would ask myself, how do people that would be your target audience watch television? Not necessarily YouTube. And what I'm learning is there are all kinds of TV style shows on YouTube. One of them that's very popular, I kind of call this concept like the deep dive or a documentary. And you would take one person and do a complete dive documentary using a show formula like the hero's journey that takes someone from, broke to where they are now, and make it the hooks and the intricacy between each scene so with so much curiosity gaps that you have to just keep watching and keep watching and keep watching. So the idea would be to make something so entertaining that you're explaining what you do, but you're doing it in a way that's storytelling focused. I do believe that podcasts alone are now not going to be enough. I believe that you're actually the goal for anyone, especially like you in the arts, would be to have someone sit down for 20 to 40 minutes and watch your show.
Okay. Well, I have 2-hour conversations with people, so I should be able to make a 20, 40 minute
Absolutely. It's more about how long people stick around. That's very important.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm learning along the way. So our listener isn't feeling left out. As we wrap up, if they don't have a presence, kind of like Peter just mentioned, or they have a presence, like I talked about a client that has stuff out there, there's really not a lot going on. What's the best advice? And maybe we can make it that, hey, if you're going to do this one thing, this is the thing, or these are the 3 things you got to do in the next month or 6 months or whatever. What would be your advice from someone who's had over 50 billion views through the clients and the channels that you've worked with? I mean, obviously you're one of the foremost experts in the world for YouTube. So if we could leverage some of your advice now, that'd be wonderful. And then obviously we need to find out how we can work with you.
So the biggest thing is I would treat your YouTube channel like your business, an extension of your business. I would absolutely, without a doubt, understand who your target audience is, what your value could be to them, and how you're going to get there. Then I would study all of your competitors and any terms or topic keywords. I would sort the views, the videos on YouTube by views. So let's say you type in plumber, and then you would sort by most views, and I would figure out like the top 10, 20, or 30 videos, and I would watch them. I would watch the whole video, the top 20, 30, 40 videos, and I'd really start to understand how these videos are structured, what the titles are like, what the thumbnails are like, and why you think people are consuming them at a higher rate than every other video on these topics on YouTube. So I would become a viewer. I would dive deep as you can on the other side of the aisle and really understand. A lot of business owners, which is very weird to me, do not watch YouTube. You're like, oh, I don't watch YouTube. I just want to be really famous on YouTube. And I'm kind of like, because it would be like saying I want to be an actor, but I've never seen a movie.
Or I want to be a writer, but I don't want to read any books. It's like
Exactly.
the best writers are the most voracious readers. Yeah.
I'm going to say 20, 30, 40% of some of my students in the past have had this mentality. So strange to me. So, we'll take Roger Wakefield, the plumber, for an example. About 7 years ago when he came to me, he had like 100 subscribers, struggling plumbing business. And he focused on giving value to plumbers, to apprentices, to companies, to, moms and dads that have houses or apartments. And now he is doing quite well for himself. And he never changed who he was. He's always just a redneck plumber with a really nice mustache. That's who he is. And he's never changed that mentality. He's never like went off and talked about electrical or AC. He's a plumber. And I think that if you can understand who you are, understand what your niche is and what your audience needs and desires, I think that's half the battle. I haven't even talked about scripting or filming or editing or storytelling or titles or thumbnails. I haven't even talked about that. I'm just saying, like, if you don't actually know what your viewers need and want, you're going to fail. If you don't treat YouTube like a business, you're going to fail. If you get to a point to where you actually understand who your audience is, what they need and want, and you're willing to do some work, just remember, you are going to absolutely suck for the first 100 videos you make. You're going to be terrible. And the difference between people with millions of subscribers and people with 5 subscribers is mindset, belief, and tenaciousness.
They kept going.
Roger had no knowledge of he had no knowledge of cameras. He had no knowledge of nothing, nothing. He's just a plumber. And he wasn't afraid. I think when you or your business can say, okay, we're going to skip past how much this costs, and we're going to believe to the core of our souls that we can help people or entertain them, and we're in. It might take 10 years. It might take 1 month. Business that are like, okay, well, we better turn a profit in the next 6 months or we're not going to be able to justify this. They don't believe. Going back to digital natives. Digital natives live this. They grew up with YouTube channels. YouTube turned 20 recently. And, YouTube's 20 years old. That's not young. We're almost getting to like old media at this point. And I think the difference, the core difference between someone failing on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and someone succeeding is they know who their tribe is, they know what their value is, and they're not going to give up.
I love it.
I absolutely love it. I mean, we should really kind of, on that mic drop moment, end the podcast. But I do want to just bring in one thing, and that is that this is the Built by Love podcast. Where does love for you fit in what you do?
It's a good question. I will say everything. Every aspect of my life is about peace and love and balance. I haven't been this way my whole life. But with enough trauma, you can get there, and, I select my customers. If anyone gets mean or demanding or yells at a employee, I just insta-fire them. I don't care if you're famous or not. I focus on family way before I focus on businesses. And, I do a lot of things like gardening and skateboarding. And the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be traveling all over America in my little RV camper. on the back of my truck.
Going to punk rock concerts.
Yeah, the punk rock concerts. And I think that 20 years ago, the younger version of me was working 60 to 80 hours every week. If I could go back in time, I would say, you would actually get more work done if you focused on one thing and worked half the time.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a value bomb.
Incredible wisdom.
Amazing.
And I think anyone who has gone through that experience of thinking, I'm going to work more, I'll work late, I'll work weekends, I'll make sacrifices, I got to grind. Once they get through that and they recognize the life that they built, which is usually a prison, and then they realize I'm going to make the change and how much better it is on the other side, that really resonates. And if anyone who's listening is still there grinding, working long hours and doing all the things, thinking, I'd encourage you to listen to Jeremy's words, because there is
listen to what Jeremy just said.
Yeah.
Do what Jeremy said.
A lot of my friends, by the time they sell their business or get happy with where they were, they destroyed their entire lives. Their kids don't talk to them. Their wife left them. Like, you have to balance life. And I really wish we were taught more of these things in school. And one thing about AI, I think that's going to really change everything, is we may actually have more time. I can tell you that a YouTube channel audit used to take me 25 hours and now it takes me 25 minutes.
Wow. Jeremy, we definitely have to bring you back on the podcast, and I want to talk about skateboarding and other things the next time you come back on, if you'd be so gracious.
Absolutely.
But as we wrap up, the listeners probably wondering, Daniel and Peter, will you be quiet for a moment and tell me how I can find Jeremy, how I can work with him? I want to build my channel. I have a channel. I want to make it better. Like, who do you work with? How do they find you? How can they work with you? Like, all of those kind of questions.
The easiest way, by the time this podcast comes out, if you go to creatorunlock.com/audit, we're actually giving away a complete free, totally free YouTube channel audit that is very complex in nature, that it gives you a lot of information. With that, you'll sign up for our email newsletter and you'll be able to contact us.
Perfect. And is that spelled out all the same word?
creatorunlock.com/audit.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Creator Unlock, not unlocked, unlock.com.
Yeah, unlock.com.
Okay. Just want to make sure. And where can they find you? Obviously, where can they find you on YouTube?
Yeah, they can find me at Creator Unlock or Jeremy Vest on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think I've just got a masterclass in YouTube. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Built by Love podcast. If you found the conversation inspiring or helpful in any way, then head to builtbylove.com/podcast and make sure you're subscribed to our email list. Please also take a few minutes to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and share this episode with a friend that you think it might help. Each review helps us to spread the message of love to more people. See you next time on the Built by Love podcast.